With your updated forecast, I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Weatherology Weather Center. Mainly clear skies today with daytime highs approaching 78. Winds out of the north, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight, lows level off around 48. Bright sunshine expected tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 82. Ample sunshine expected Thursday. Clouds on the increase by Friday. Highs in the low 80s. Take a look at the extended forecast. 82 Saturday, 83 Sunday, and 78 on Monday. Another look at the short range. We should top out at 78 today. Lows level off around 48 tonight. A high of 82 tomorrow. Get up to the minute weather updates from the Weatherology Weather Center. I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley on this NWKS radio station. Currently 55.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-507-9624. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-507-9624. That's 800-507-9624. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Get ready for the most electrifying football action of the season right here on Rocket 1025. Cheer on your Denver Broncos with every thrilling play, every game-winning drive, and every heart-pounding moment. Don't miss a second of action. Tune in all season long to Rocket 1025. Broncos football powered by FMB Bank, Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Colby Ag Center, Tubbs & Sons Ford Sales, Hoxie Feed Yard Imperial Beef, Next Tech Wireless, Burlington Ford, Zimmelman's Jewelry, and Vince's GM.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery, ingestion, and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
They're having one hail of a sale at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. That's right, a hail sale where you can get massive savings on a new vehicle. For example, get a 23 GMC Sierra 1500 up to $20,000 off when you trade in eligible vehicle, now just over $37,000. A new 24 Chevy Tahoe RST, $13,000 off, now just over $59K. Plus 24 Chevy Traverse RS, $10,000 off, now just over $45,000. Plus many more. It's one hail of a sale at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
Even though your attention has turned back to school with events and activities, you just can't forget everything going on at home. That's where your local Hoover Lumber Ace hardware stores in Goodland and Colby come in. Keep the lawn in check with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. They are still your local Benjamin Moore paint retailer, and they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Plus, their helpful and knowledgeable staffs are some of the best in the Northwest. It's all at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
Turn to Plains Heating and Air Conditioning and Lennox for a pair that is perfect together. This duo ensures your home's air is perfect season after season. For a limited time, we're offering up to $1,500 in rebates or qualified buyers make no payments. Incur no interest for 12 months when financing a new Lennox system. Plus, receive up to $2,600 in federal tax credits. Call us today at 785-890-2914 or visit us online at plainsheating.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Goodland's Rocket 1025 is your home for Goodland High School athletics. From touchdowns and three-pointers to home runs, Ross Volkmer has you covered with all the action. Join him for live broadcast on Goodland's Rocket 1025, your front row seat to the Cowboys and Cowgirls. Select games video streamed on the Goodland Voice. GHS athletics this season are made possible in part by
Outdoor Bank, Moss Barger Family Farms, FNB Bank, Edward Jones Financial Advisor Chris Yost, and Ranchland.com and broker Craig Townsend.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
If you want to win in football, it all starts up front. Mass kicks ass.
The region's only local sports talk.
Listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 1025. Simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guys everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Showtime for the Lady Eagles.
To the pros.
McKinnon is in at running back. First down and goal to go. Play action fake. Right side throw. Touchdown! Kansas City!
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and FNB Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work. Hand off to Cook off the left side. He beats the first man and the second. Drops the right shoulder. He's in. Right near the corner of the pylon. Touchdown, Buffalo.
Daniels has the shotgun snap for Washington. Hands to Eckler, busting through with the left tackle, the 20, the 15 down the near sideline, 10, 5, inside the pylon. Touchdown, Washington. Austin Eckler driving, breaking tackles, and accelerates for 6.
Play fake from under center. Allen all day in the pocket. Lob, open target. 5, touchdown. Keon Coleman tight to the right sideline. 24 yards.
Shotgun snap to Daniels. Blitzes on. Goes an arching spiral pass into the end zone, and it was caught by McLaurin. Was he in the corner? Yes! Yes, he was! Touchdown!
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. Broadcasting, as always, on Goodland's Rocket 1025 and simulcasting on Goodland 730 Gold, KLOE. So glad you could join us here on a Tuesday morning. Of course, we're also video streaming on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. No matter which way you're listening, thank you so much for being a part of the show here on a Tuesday. If you want to be part of the show even more, chime in with your thoughts and comments on the FNB Bank text line, the number 785-899-2222. Today, we are going to be visiting and talking Big 12 football with James Wessling of Big 12 Today on TuneIn and also of ESPN. So look forward to visiting with James Wessling again for the second time here in this football season. Boy, Monday Night Football last night, a couple of lopsided games. God, Monday Night Football just is nowhere what it used to be. It really is pathetic, to be completely honest with you. I've had this conversation many times before, but those games were bad. But there were some takeaways I got from Monday Night Football. We'll get to that coming up in our third segment of the day. And I want to talk, as we're at the third way point of the season. I know that's kind of a dumb sentence there, but a third of the way through the college football season, a third of the way through it. Well, all teams have played 4 games. Colorado, our regional teams, Colorado, K-State, KU, Nebraska, they've all played 4 games at this point in time. So they're a third of the way through their 12-game slate. And so we're going to hand out grades, and why of those grades are we going to hand those out? We're going to get to that here coming up in just a little bit. So third of the way season grades coming up here on the Morning Blitz. Before we get to that, though, some local sports from yesterday I want to highlight. Colby Community College volleyball in a huge match yesterday against Barton. It was number 6 Colby against number 5 Barton at the Colby Event Center. It looked like they had a great crowd there yesterday. You know, they had a great turnout for our tailgate event as well, which is great to see. And it was Colby Community College who came up on the wrong end of a 3-0 sweep. Lady Trojans lost 25-23, 25-20, and 25-14, which drops them to 14-2 overall on the season, and now just 4-1 in Jayhawk League play. So Lady Trojans, for the first time this year, really handled on the court very easily in their home court. So that's going to sting a little bit. Luckily, it was the first matchup between those two teams. They'll get a chance to try and do that again against Barton in Barton the next time up, which my guess is Barton probably had that match circled on their calendar
for a while because I'm 90% sure, if my memory, once again, serves me correctly, Colby beat Barton for a chance to go to the national tournament in Great Bend last year in the Region 6 tournament. I feel like that's what happened, and you got to think that game was just circled by Barton, that they wanted to get back at him. And so a 3-0 sweep in pretty convincing fashion for the most part, especially in the second and third sets, pushes Barton over the top. They remain unbeaten. They'll remain a top 5 team, and who knows? Colby may drop a spot or two, but first loss in Jayhawk League play. They're 4-1 now. My guess is that's going to be another collision course. They probably won't drop another match, barring some big mental letdown, until they face Barton again here in a month or so. And Lady Trojans are still an impressive 14-2 as we sit here on this Tuesday, September the 24th. Also, we get to golf yesterday. Wasn't as clear-cut and cut and dry as it has been in the previous few tournaments, but Goodland, despite a rocky start, finished strong on the back nine and came back to win the Colby Girls Golf Invitational yesterday over there at Meadow Lake Golf Course in Colby. Allie Cure was the top cowgirl golfer, shooting a 91. Natalie Cure came in fifth, and Tori Jones finished 8th. 7th straight tournament for GHS to start this season that they have won. So great start for Goodland Golf. And I was trying to find it. Maybe it's been posted since then. I did not find it at the time. I'll see if I can find it here real quickly. If they had posted the rest of the tournament results. I'd just seen Goodland's results. Shout out Coach Goods for your post on social media. Thanks so much for that. But yeah, I have not seen anything of the full results. I don't know how Colby did. I don't know how Oakley did. I don't know how Rollins County did. If I had to take a guess, I would say that I'd say Amelia Bowles of Rollins County probably finished up in the top spot individually. That would just be my guess. I don't know that for a fact, but that would just be my guess. That would be great. And my guess is Logan Nolan and Natalie Wodersky of Colby finished in the top 5, top 10 for absolute least. That would be my guess yesterday at the Colby Girls Golf Invitational. Big slate of volleyball tonight. Hoxie will be going to Norton for a triangular with Trigo, Shiloh, and Decatur Community going to Logan Palco for a triangular. Wheatland Grinnell will host a tri with Tri-Plains Brewster and Western Plains. Golden Plains will have a triangular with Quinter and St. Francis. Weskin will be at Heartland Christian tonight for some volleyball. Rollins County hosts a triangular in Colby with Hitchcock County, Nebraska, and Wallace County and Oakley. Lady Plains been off to a fantastic start in their 2024 season. They will host Ellis and Hayes TMP. And I don't think Ellis or TMP have been that great so far. So I can see Oakley pick up another couple of wins on the volleyball court here tonight. So like I said, a full night. That's seven different sites of high school volleyball tonight here on a Tuesday, playing some volleyball. So there you go. There's your local sports update for you here on this Tuesday. I want to, like I said, we will get to James Westling coming up here of Big 12 today, talk about last week in the Big 12 slate, what to expect going forward. So look forward to visiting with James on the Hoover Lumber's Hardware Hotline coming up here in about 15 minutes. And we'll get some thoughts on Monday Night Football and the doubleheader that was yesterday, which I don't know why in the world we're having doubleheader Monday Night Football games. It's happening again next week too. I don't know what we're doing or why we're doing it, but whatever. I don't get a lot of things that are going on in the world of television, sports, broadcasting at this point in time. Anyway, though, I said I wanted to talk about, since we are at the third of the way point in the college football season, most teams, of course that happened. Most teams are, at the third way point of this season. So I wanted to talk about third of the way grades is what I wanted to talk about here on the Morning Blitz. So most teams have played at least 4 games so far this season. And I just want to see where if people want to chime in on the FB Bank text line, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. And see with that. Thank you to Drew for chiming in, by the way, on the FB Bank text line. Logan Nolan finishing first and Colby finished second as a team. Thank you. Logan Nolan, though, first. That was good. Good to see on the home course. And I'm not surprised Colby ended up finishing in second. My guess is a very close second place. But nonetheless, want to get to third of the way season grades in the college football season for our regional teams. I want to start with Kansas State and KU, obviously. We'll start with K-State. K-State right now, a 3-1 football team, coming off their first loss against BYU on the road in a hostile environment in Provo. So where do the Wildcats end up finishing, or with a letter grade at this point in time, or at this point in third-way season? I guess I would give them I'm going to say a B+. It easily could get moved to an A-, but I'm going to say a B+. There were I'm just not sure what to expect of Kansas State at this point in time. I'm just not. They have looked dominant against teams that they should look dominant in. And then, against Tulane, really had some defensive issues, giving up some big plays. Looked like they got that corrected against Arizona for the most part. And Avery, they weren't asking Avery Johnson to carry and shoulder the team too much through the first few games, kind of letting him get settled in. And he did a good job of that. And then I think they've started to ask him to do a little bit more, and I think that's perfectly fine. But just this last time against out in Provo, Utah against BYU really struggled with turnover. K-State just did not look like themselves. They made a lot of mental mistakes. They only got field goals when they got into the red zone because of those mental mistakes. Their defense gave up some big plays, lacked in some tackling in that game. And they even got burned on special teams, which I think is going to be a rarity. It will be a rarity going forward. I don't think we're going to see that happen maybe again this season, and if not for a while. But I'm going to stick with my B+ at this point in time on Kansas State. Offensively, they're kind of around, in total offense, kind of in the same, and probably around that 50 to 60 range. They're not bad. They're not great. And defensively, they're a little bit better than that. They're not excellent, but they're a really good defense. So I'm going to take Kansas State and put it as a B+ right now as we sit here a third of the way through this season. It could go to an A-. I don't know. And probably because I think that loss in Provo is kind of lingering in my mind and what I saw. And if that could possibly have an impact on Avery Johnson going forward, I don't know. We'll find out. I doubt it will. But big game coming up here this week. I mean, huge game. One of the biggest games of the season for K-State and for Oklahoma, who they're playing at home. They're at the Bill. I think it's a massive game. It is a massive, massive game for both of those teams. And whoever wins stays alive in the Big 12 title chase hunt. Whoever loses, it's done. You're going to need a lot of help to get back into that race, be my guess. Could be wrong. But I think right now, if I'm sitting here, I'm giving Kansas State a B+ on the third of the way season grades. I like what I see in a lot of areas. I just have some questions that just hold me back. I question maybe if the defense is as good as some people thought it would. Just a little question there. And my biggest question, once again, what is Avery Johnson going to do? I'm sure he's going to have some monster games coming up down the pipe, but I think he's going to have some games where he struggles, just like a true sophomore quarterback would at any time. I think that's what we'll see. So give me K-State with a B+ at this point in time. KU, definitely going to go a little bit further down. I'm thinking probably in that C to C+ range at this point in time if I'm Kansas. I think KU, once again, has a defense that unfortunately, which I think is improved from previous years, still cannot get off the field when it matters the most. I think that's the thing that hurts them, is that they have been given leads and not been able to hold on to these leads in multiple games this season, and that's a huge issue, I think, so far in this season. So if I'm looking at it, I'm saying we got to get off the field defensively, have to be much better in that department. And then offensively, turnovers have killed them, particularly at the quarterback spot. Jalen Daniels, I think, has been asked to do too much, coming off of a whole year of really not playing football because of injuries and putting too much on his plate. My guess is, as the season progresses on, if they make some adjustments, they're visiting with Shreyas Latta and stuff about how they're they're asking Jalen to throw the ball down the field a little bit further than maybe he's comfortable with, the intermediate short game that he's really good at. If they make a few adjustments like that, and he cuts down on the turnovers, I think that will help. And I really think it'll help. And I've said this many times, and I'll just continue to say it. If they can go and just say, you know what, instead of, giving the ball, 15 times or 20 times to Devin Neal, we're going to give it to 20, 25 times. We're going to use our best player that we have on our team right now, Jalen Daniels, more, because he is going to give us the best chance to win. We can run the football. We've proven that we can do it. And we can, because of that, give him a few more totes, hopefully open things up in the passing game, making it easier for our quarterback at this point in time. I think that's what has to happen. Now, if Jeff Grimes, the offensive coordinator, doesn't want to do that, that's going to be an issue. But I think Kansas right now, I'm looking at a C, maybe a C+. I still think there's a lot of potential on this team. I know Lance Leipold put out a statement I saw last night on social media, talk about how, we still need your support and we're going to get this right. And you definitely don't want to see that. And, Nick Athen yesterday was talking about how, Kansas has got to get that stadium put up and get that finished. They need the support there. Yeah, and a great season would certainly help that. And right now it's not going that way. You're just 1-3. But I still think there's the potential on this team to be a good football team. They have the pieces. Can they just put it together? So I'm going to say a C, C+ maybe at this point in time if you're KU. Moving on to Nebraska at this point in time, I'm going to give Nebraska probably a B- or a B at the absolute most at this point in time if I'm Nebraska. Nothing higher than that. They are improved in comparison to previous years. But they still are not running the football, I think, at the level that they need to, and they definitely have proven the last couple of games that they have struggled to stop the run game of physical running teams. Honestly, if Nebraska played in the old Big 12 where it was spread out and maybe run the ball through the spread game and try and kind of the old Big 12, I would feel better. But when you're going into the Big 10 and teams love to run it right at you down your throat and you can't stop that, that's a problem. In the last two games, they have not been able to do that. Now, maybe they can get that corrected with some adjustments in some scheme things. That would make me feel a lot better. I haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to say probably a B- to maybe a B at this point in time for Nebraska. Dylan Raiola is carrying that offense. He looks as good as advertised. I know he's got a couple of picks here as of late, but those were two balls that were 50-50 balls that were ripped away by the defender. The receiver did not go up and rip it away from the defender. So, and I think they've ran the ball okay at times. They just need to find a way to run a little bit better, in my opinion. And special teams are a humongous black eye. They cannot make field goals at a consistent rate. The punting is inconsistent. The snapping is inconsistent. The special teams are in not a good spot at Nebraska. So I'm going to sit there with a B, probably a B- at this point in time. They can, like I said, I would not go any higher than a B, maybe a B- at this point in time. Moving on to Colorado, and I know we'll get some text messages on this. I know Jared is already chiming in on our F&B Bank text line, 785-899-2222. Listener Bill chiming in as well. KU gets a D-. Look, back to KU, I think that's too much. I guess if you're grading, just to this very point in the season, I guess I could get you to a D+, probably, Bill. I don't know. I wouldn't want to go a whole lot lower than that. I still don't think it'd be that bad. Looking back at Jared, who chimes on the FP Bank text line, lots of different comments about this, adding in he's got KU with a D, KSU with a B. He's got Colorado a B, Nebraska a B. Air Force a D, and Colorado State a D for Jared. Okay, fine with me. KU is at the bottom of the conference. You're giving them a C. What the heck? Look, I guess I'm also looking on, can you make the corrections and can you put yourself in position to be better? I mean, you all make a great point. Jared makes a great point. If you're just grading on the first 4 games and possibly not even looking at the potential, if you want to just grade the first 4 games, yes, probably a D. You're probably right for a D there. K-State, probably a B in the first 4 games. Nebraska, a B so far. Colorado, I give, they've won on a Hail Mary pretty much, and a great defensive play by Travis Hunter. They were stomped by Nebraska, who's a B team. They did beat Colorado State on the road, but that was a close game. I don't know. I guess I would stick more in the C+ range for Colorado. Their defense, I will give them credit. I feel like their defense, it may not show a ton, but I feel like it is improved. Their defense is a step better. Their offense looks to be exactly the same as it was last year. Dynamic at times, can't protect the quarterback at others. It feels like it's the same exact defense at this point in time, or same exact offense for Colorado. It's not any better. It's not any worse. But defensively, they're a little bit better. So I give credit there. So I guess I've got Colorado to C+, I guess is where I would put it. C+, maybe a B-. They definitely have great playmakers, especially in the wide receiver room and offensively at the quarterback spot. They no doubt have that. But at the same time, they don't look like they're a whole lot different than they did last year. I mean, Jared, you can tell me if you think I'm wrong on that, and that's fine. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess I see that as being a C+, B- team at this point in time at absolute best. Like I said, defense is definitely better, but yeah, the offense is about the same at this point in time. So I'll give it a C+, B- at this point in time. And I would probably go with a D for both Colorado State and Air Force right now if I'm Jared as well. So I would probably agree with that too. So K-State no doubt is the best team out of our regional squads at this point in time through the first 4 games. They've looked that way despite the thumping they took down at BYU. They've looked like that. I'd say probably Nebraska and Colorado. Nebraska's in the second place spot just ahead of Colorado because they did win the head-to-head. And then KU's going to be in the 4th spot. And like I said, great points are made on the Epi Bank text line. Couldn't agree more. If you're grading based upon just the first 4 games and you're just looking back at that and you're not thinking about, can you correct it? Can you not? You're definitely going to say, well, for KU, that would be a D. You're definitely going to say that's a D. I guess I'm looking at it being a C+ because I think they have the pieces to fix this going forward. But if you're going to look at it through those first 4 games and stop it there, if it was a 4-game season, say, well, that was no doubt a D. Compared to about what you had coming back and who you played and unable to get those wins, that's a challenge for Kansas. No doubt probably the most disappointing team so far through these first 4 games has been Kansas. And that might be even across the country, believe it or not. Across the country might be one of the most. But no, you're exactly right. Jared's exactly right. You're calling me out, and you're exactly right. I said the grades of the first 4 games are the third of the way through the season, and you're exactly right. So you call me out, and I admit I probably should have been a little bit more specific, saying I'm thinking the parameters are for the if I'm saying grades, that usually means, well, what is the work you've done to this point, not what you can possibly do by the time the season gets done. I don't know, and maybe a D is a little bit. It has to be a D for Kansas. It just has to be because of what they've done, how they've had leads and blown it. They're not been able to get the field defensively, offensively. They've had too many turnovers, especially at the quarterback spot. But running the football, that's my point. Like, you could correct all this if you just ran the ball more with your best player. You just don't give him the ball enough. That's what's hurting you. That's what hurts you if you're Kansas. Kansas State, you're playing with a young quarterback in some hostile environments. These things are going to happen. It's okay. B+ is where you need to be. Nebraska's young quarterback looks very good, but now we're in the Big Ten where it's about big boy football and stopping the run and running the ball against tough defensive fronts. And in the first games against teams like that, it has not looked great for Nebraska. But still, they could have lost to Colorado. They could have been in a lot tighter games than other ones. So I think I'd give them a B. Colorado, like I said, I expected them to be more improved. They're about the same as they were last year, except defensively a little bit improved. So, yeah, probably in that C+ to B- range. And then D's for Colorado State and Air Force so far at this point in time. So there you go. Grades from the first third of the season. The first 4 games of the season are in the books in college football. And right now I've got K-State at a B+, KU probably at a C at the high end. You've got Nebraska at a B, Colorado at a C+, B-, and then, D's the rest of the way there. So, yeah, it's been an okay start, not a great start at this point in time in college football for regional teams. Had some really hot starts for like Nebraska and K-State. Really hot starts to the season. Kind of have cooled off here over this last week. And then you've got just horrific starts for for KU and Colorado. Like I said, just kind of in the same boat to where they've been in the previous year. Anything on? All right, we're at 7:31 Mountain, 8:31 Central Time here on a Tuesday morning. Let's get to a timeout. We'll come back and we're going to visit with James Wessling of ESPN and also, of course, co-host of the Big 12 today on TuneIn Radio. We'll visit with him next and get his thoughts on the Big 12 after a great week of games and what to expect with this upcoming week in week number 5 of the college football season. It's next here on the Blitz.
As a customer-owned cooperative, Midwest Energy members elect their board of directors. Ballots for this year's director election are in the mail and must be completed and returned by October 4th. Election results will be announced at our annual meeting on Monday, October 21st, 10 a.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn in Hayes. We'll give away great door prizes, and all Midwest members are invited to attend. Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative, making energy work for you.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Tuesday, September 24th, and on the overnight last night, December corn traded higher 3 1/4 at 4.16 3/4. March up 3 1/4 at 4.35. May up 2 3/4 at 4.45 1/4, and July up 2 3/4 at 4.51 1/2. November soybeans up 13 3/4 on the overnight at 10.53. January up 13 1/4 at 10.70. March up 13 1/4 at 10.83. And May beans up 12 3/4 at 10.95 1/2. Chicago wheat, the December contract higher 4 1/2 on the overnight at 5.87. March up 4 1/2 at 6.05 3/4. May up 4 1/2 at 6.16 1/2. And July up 5 cents at 6.22. Kansas City wheat, the December contract higher 5 1/4 on the overnight at 5.82 1/2. March up 5 1/4 at 5.96. May up 5 1/2 at 6.04 1/2. July up 5 3/4 at 6.09 1/2. On the stock market this morning, the Dow up $58, 42,559. The S&P up 6 at 5,782. The Nasdaq up 37 at 20,117. Gold higher $5 an ounce at 2,657. And crude oil up $1.50 a barrel at 71.89. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call, John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Solido, Jared Law, or Heather Ghosh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
When challenging conditions arise, we don't back down. We up our game. Outpacing the competition with innovations fueled by Bayer's R&D. Keeping you equipped with an expanded portfolio, elite genetics, and additional local test plots. Channel leads the field, so you can rise above. See how you can save at channel.com/finance24. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
Out here, we raise stronger people, stronger crops, and we proudly raise our flag to that. Let the weather, pests, and pressures try to beat us down. We only keep growing up. With the next-gen genetics, the pure acre-for-acre know-how of these soils, and a deep pride of our roots, we are born to raise at Hogemeyer. Learn more at therightseed.com.
Football season has kicked off, marking the start of tailgate season. Make sure you're prepared for the big game with a new or pre-owned truck from Vince's GM Center in Burlington. Explore their inventory in person at 1847 Rose Avenue or browse their extensive selection online at vincesgmcenter.com. While online, take the opportunity to get pre-qualified for a purchase or book your vehicle's next service appointment. Vince's GM Center in Burlington, where we've been selling cars for 40 years and making friends for life.
Start your day with a blitz of sports news, analysis, and interviews.
Sounds like a pretty damn good deal to me.
This is the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Thanks again to all the texters chiming in. Drew, Michael, Bill, Jared, thank you so much for chiming in there in the first segment. And it's a big thing. Some more text here. Michael talking about the C-. He's talking about his Jayhawks. C- for the Jayhawks, and F for the Grimes hire. My goodness, Rock Chalk. Jared, thank you so much for the nice words. I talk about Fort Hays State 3-1. B, I don't know. I'd probably give them an A if I was going Fort Hays State, to be honest with you. Great start to the year. And I apologize once again for kind of the confusion there. I kind of even confused myself. Sometimes you're hosting a show completely by yourself. You just kind of get lost in your own little mind and tangent. So, I'm glad someone straightened me out. Grading the first 4 games and not possibly the potential afterwards. But, like I said, I started off talking about how, yes, this is where they are, but I think they could get to I think that the potential is they could be better, which means they could end up with a grade like this instead of just saying, well, through the first 4 games, you're 1-3 and you probably are a D if you're Kansas and others, and a B+ to for K-State and, a B, maybe a B- for Nebraska, B- C+ for Colorado. Instead of just, that's where I'd sit here after the first 4 games. So I just kind of got in my own head there, but thank you for Jared for straightening me out there. I appreciate that. Need to have that. Someone checking it, looking out for me. Let's continue on here on the Morning Blitz. We'll get to some thoughts on Monday Night Football last night, some ugly thoughts at that. But we go to the Hoover Lumber-Ace Hardware Hotline. We're pleased to be joined by our good friend from Big 12 Today. He also does broadcast for ESPN, ESPN+. So James Westling joining us now on the Hoover Lumber-Ace Hardware Hotline. James, thank you so much again for spending some time with us.
Happy to do it, man. Love talking Big 12 any chance I can get.
Tell you what, last week in the Big 12 was pretty interesting, to say the least, don't you think?
Yeah, it was a wild week 1 of Big 12 play. Kansas State coming off that huge win over Arizona, them to get just really dominated in all 3 phases by BYU. It's a bit of a shock for Kansas to surrender a 28-17 lead with 5 minutes to go in Morgantown. That also wasn't good for the schools from the Sunflower State, but there were a lot of close games and there were a lot of upsets and surprises, and which I guess by now we should know is kind of par for the course when it comes to college football.
Of the KU and K-State losses, James, which one is more concerning for you?
Kansas would be more concerning for me because of where they're at 4 weeks in. I think Kansas State just ran into a buzzsaw in Provo, Utah. The fans were as loud as they've ever been. It was a sellout game. They were wearing those 1996 throwback uniforms, which ironically are the same uniforms they wore the last time K-State and BYU played. Big 12 after dark is what we're calling it on Big 12 today, and crazy things can happen. So I think it was kind of more of a one-off for Kansas State, BYU beating K-State really at their own game. Now, Kansas, the concern there is, the sample size that we have now 4 games in, they're just not the same team that they were last year. And Jalen Daniels is not really getting much better on a week-to-week basis. Kansas leaned on their ground game, which is what fans had been begging for them to do, and they still couldn't get a win. So I think there are bigger issues for Kansas, who now, all of a sudden, when you look at their upcoming schedule, it's going to be difficult for Kansas to find 5 more wins and get to bowl eligibility. So I think just in terms of kind of their backs against the wall, the Kansas loss was more alarming than K-State's loss to BYU.
I want to go to K-State, though, first. How much concern, if any, was the play of Avery Johnson in that game? Or is it just, hey, he's a young quarterback in a hostile environment for kind of the first time in his career?
Yeah, I think it's more that. BYU took K-State completely out of their game plan because K-State, when they got down and that blitz happened, really the running option for Avery Johnson went away. BYU knew that he would have to throw the ball. I just felt like he made some ill-advised throws that young quarterbacks are going to make. I mean, he had an interception right before the half where he had probably 10 or 15, maybe even 20 yards of real estate in front of him, but he was feeling pressed and thought he needed to try to take a bigger shot downfield, and it was a pick. So I think there's going to be ups and downs with a 19-year-old true sophomore quarterback. But for the first time in his career, he was rattled. And everybody kind of has that welcome to the Big 12 moment. I think for him, it was that game. Now, the good news is, the next time K-State's in a hostile environment, he'll be more prepared. He'll be ready for it. I think he'll be more locked in mentally. And so I think just it was his youth on display more than anything else. I'm not worried about his accuracy or his arm strength or his ability to change the game with his legs. I think it was all, above the shoulder pads in his head, and I think he'll respond.
We're visiting with James Westling once again. He is the co-host of Big 12 Today Radio on TuneIn, and of course also does play-by-play for ESPN. He joins us via the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline. I want to go back to Kansas for a second here. The loss to West Virginia, their third consecutive loss. And I mean, I'm sure you would agree, the lack of great quarterback play by, of course, Jalen Daniels, and the defense unable to get off the field are the two biggest issues for KU so far. How much could they solve all that issue, James, by just giving the ball to Devin Neal more and riding him more?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what KU fans have been scratching their heads about. But look at that game, and KU had success on the ground. I mean, that really wasn't the issue. I think that KU had a key third down late in the game where, they handed the ball off rather than running that little speed option that was very successful for them for most of the game. But outside of that one particular play, I don't think that game was on Jeff Grimes, who tried something different. I believe he was in the booth for that game, whereas he had been on the field. KU scored 28 points. That should be enough to win you a college football game. It was the defense that let them down in the final 5 minutes. So, yeah, it's frustrating that you're probably 2 or 3 first downs away from winning a football game and you can't get it done. But Devin Neal, as good as his numbers have been, he's also he's never really been a high volume back, even in high school. So I don't know that he's a guy you can give 20 to 25 touches per game and expect the same results. So I thought the play calling was better against West Virginia, but it just feels like anything that's going to go wrong for Kansas has and will continue until KU just figures out a way to win. They don't look like a team that knows how to win close games right now. I think that, again, kind of like Avery Johnson, although I think it's more of an entire team issue, they just lost some of their confidence and frustrations are mounting. There's just a lot going on. And now that KU's had success under Lance Leipold, this will probably be his most challenging year just in terms of can he keep this team together after a 1-3 start when they were thinking, hey, we've got a schedule that might allow us to compete for the Big 12 championship at the start of the year.
Well, I know I picked them to be one of those teams possibly vying for a Big 12 title spot, so they're definitely not making me look very smart. James Westling, our guest here. In the big picture of the Big 12, how important was that Utah 3-point win over Oklahoma State?
Massive. It was a massive win for Utah. To do that in Stillwater, without Cam Rising, they started a true freshman at quarterback, and they dominated that football game. The final score of 22-19 is very misleading. They led 22-3. Oklahoma State pulls Alan Bowman in the second quarter because they just can't get anything going offensively. It says a lot about Utah and just what type of an impact they're going to have on this conference. They are elite defensively. They dominate you in the trenches. They don't make mistakes, and they won the time of possession in that game 43-7. The ball for 43 minutes. Oklahoma State had it for 17. I have never seen a number like that in Big 12 play in recent years. One team on the field as much as Utah was. So I think it says a lot about just how good that Utah team is and what kind of a problem they're going to be for everybody else in the Big 12, not just in the immediate future, but they're also a young football team. Like I said, that's a true freshman at quarterback. It doesn't matter who they have at running back. They always have a 1,000-yard rusher, and they're a program that develops players from within, and they're just stout and fundamentally sound and disciplined, and they've got some kind of old-school K-State in them just in terms of they don't beat themselves.
Yeah, to me, the biggest thing was they did that all when they thought they had Cam Rising, and then he couldn't go, and then they go to the freshman, and they still find a way to win in that hostile environment. That's just amazing to me. James Westling joining us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline from Big 12 Today radio show on TuneIn. It sets up a fascinating game here this Saturday between Kansas State and Oklahoma State, two teams that really need a bounce-back win. I mean, this is a humongous game, one of probably the best games in the entire country, right?
Yeah, I call this one the Anxiety Bowl because both fan bases are nervous. The loser of this game will fall to 0-2, and essentially, you look at just how competitive the Big 12 is. An 0-2 start in league play, you're basically out of championship contention to play in that December 7th game at AT&T Stadium. So, I think that this is a must-win for both teams if they expect to compete for a Big 12 championship, which both programs, fan bases, coaches, players, all need to do. I haven't, looked much yet, but I would say that so far, just in terms of the eye test, Kansas State looks like the better team. Oklahoma State's lucky they don't have two losses for Oklahoma State to get dominated like they did by Utah. Again, K-State's game was a much tougher environment. Going on the road and playing like that, I think says a lot about just how good BYU is at home. They were good last year at home. It's Oklahoma down to the wire in a 5-7 season. So I think K-State probably has the edge. I think K-State has less glaring issues. Their quarterback play has been a little bit better, at least in the last game. K-State offensive line has been better. That's one positive. Kansas State is their offensive line under Chris Kleiman. Sometimes it takes them, mid-season before they really round into shape. But it wasn't on them in Provo on Saturday. So a lot of good things still pull from Kansas State and kind of where they're at.
Once again, James Westling is our guest here on the Morning Blitz. Tell you what, one team, I don't know if it was you or if I was with somebody else, but someone who I know really loved Iowa State. Was that you?
It is me. I've got Iowa State in the league.
I tell you what, they're sitting pretty right now. Really pretty after what we've seen over these last few weeks.
No, you're right. They definitely are. That's an Arkansas State team that I know people look at that score and think, oh, well, Arkansas State, what do we know about them? Well, Arkansas State had just taken Michigan into the fourth quarter the week prior. Michigan, who, by the way, just took down USC this Saturday. So for Iowa State to drop them like they did, I think looks really good for my Iowa State pick. Rocco Becht is just incredibly efficient. The only passes against Arkansas State, they have two receivers that they've never had playmakers on the outside like they have Noel and with Higgins. They've got a ground game that's kind of starting to round into form, even with they had 8 different ball carriers on their win against Arkansas State. They've got Ayusama, but they also have some backups that get carries. It's kind of a running back by committee. And their defense has been top 3 in the league in scoring defense for 6 straight years. They've got an incredibly underrated defensive coordinator. Doesn't matter who's lining up on that defensive side of the ball, just their system, their play calling. They're always so good defensively. And the difference this year is I just think they have more playmakers on offense. So I really like that Iowa State team.
James, final one before I let you go. Looking at here at week number 5 in this Big 12 slate, and I know we're looking ahead a little bit here, but looking ahead, what's the game that we're maybe not talking about? I think everyone's going to point to Oklahoma State, Kansas State, your anxiety bowl, as you say. What's the game we're not talking about that might be really, really good?
Yeah, I'd probably lean toward in Colorado. I just think that, UCF is starting to, I guess people are starting to notice what's going on down there in Orlando with Gus Malzahn. Last year they went 6-7, but it was their first year in the league. They've got better players this year. KJ Jefferson's been a huge addition in quarterback. They've got the nation's number 1 rushing offense. And, I think that to have an opportunity on a national stage like that, to really put themselves on the map against a Colorado team that's very lucky to be 3-1, but they still found a way with all those late game heroics against Baylor. They're so talented at quarterback, and Travis Hunter is, I believe, the best player in college football. So I would go UCF Colorado. It's just a really intriguing matchup for me.
No, I was going to say that as well. I fear that'd be a very, very good game. James Westling, once again, co-host of Big 12 today on TuneIn, also does play-by-play for ESPN. Where are you headed this week, James?
This week I'll be back in North Texas. I've got Tulsa and North Texas for ESPN, which is probably the best game in the American Conference. Tulsa, they got throttled by Oklahoma State. They had a nice bounce back win on the road last weekend at La Tech, a game in which they were an underdog. And North Texas is off to their second best start since 1991. So it should be a decent game down there in Denton, Texas again.
I know you love it there. So thanks again, man. Appreciate the time. Have a great call this weekend.
All right. Thanks, Ross.
Once again, great stuff there from James Wessling here on the Morning Blitz from Big 12 today on TuneIn Radio. You can listen to that show weekday mornings, things from 7 to 10. You can catch that game or catch that show. It's a good show with James and I think it's Ari Timken that helped co-host that show there. And of course, you can catch him on ESPN Plus in the American Conference. He does football, basketball. He does some Big 12 basketball as well. And he's been on ESPN2 and ESPNU during the basketball season. Great stuff there from James Wessling. All right, let's get to next break. When we come back, Monday Night Football, a doubleheader yet last night that was not good. Some thoughts on that next here in the Morning Blitz. Even though your attention has turned back to school with events and activities, you just can't forget everything going on at home. That's where your local Hoover Lumber Ace hardware stores in Goodland and Colby come in. Keep the lawn in check with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. They are still your local Benjamin Moore paint retailer, and they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Plus, their helpful and knowledgeable staffs are some of the best in the Northwest. It's all at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
If you're looking for a more convenient way to access your funds and view your account, then sign up today for Internet Banking. Internet Banking allows you to view your accounts from your computer or even your phone. You can easily transfer between your accounts, view which checks have cleared, send payments through our bill pay feature, and even deposit your checks by taking a picture of them. Internet banking will make your banking experience easy. If you'd like to sign up for Internet Banking, come see me, Victoria Ratcliffe, today at 202 East 11th Street in Goodland, FNB Bank, member FDIC.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
It's better over here. If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has an exclusive rate plan just for you. Right now, get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, you can get one of the latest 5G phones free when you add a line. That's right, a free 5G phone. Experience all this and more on America's largest 5G network. So why wait? At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Just go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 or visit your local store to make the switch.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees, 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Free phones up to $300 off with 24 monthly bill credits and qualifying new line for well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 device connection charge. Contact us before canceling entire account to continue remaining bill credits, and if you pay off device early. See details at T-Mobile.com.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
They're having one hail of a sale at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. That's right, a hail sale where you can get massive savings on a new vehicle. For example, get a 23 GMC Sierra 1500 up to $20,000 off when you trade in eligible vehicle, now just over $37,000. A new 24 Chevy Tahoe RST, $13,000 off, now just over $59K. Plus 24 Chevy Traverse RS, $10,000 off, now just over $45,000. Plus many more. It's one hail of a sale at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
Once again, if you missed any of the conversation with James Wessling of Big 12 today, make sure you go check out the podcast anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, whatsoever. Just the final few minutes here on the Blitz, and I wanted to highlight just some Monday Night Football from last night. I was watching some of that, and gosh. Monday Night Football, we have this conversation, I feel like, every year, but Monday Night Football used to be the game that you wanted to tune in and watch. It was the game, and that has now changed to Sunday night. It's everything Sunday night football seems to touch turns to gold, while everything on Thursday night with Prime and then, of course, on Monday night is just, it's a turd. They're not, it's not good. It's such bad. They're not even, the first, we'll start with the super ugly, and that was the Bills and the Jaguars last night. That game was terrible. I mean, the Bills look like the team to beat in the AFC with Josh Allen going out there, going 23 of 30 for 263 and 4 touchdowns, scoring for their first 4 or 5 drives of the game. I didn't know if Buffalo was going to look good with the loss of some key pieces, and it looks like they're just better. It's like they got rid of, they trimmed the fat that apparently might have been a talented piece, but like in Stephon Diggs, but they've trimmed the fat, and now they've just gotten leaner and better. And so they look really, really good, does Buffalo. Really good. Especially offensively. They look dynamic. Defensively, they're fine. The team they were playing last night, the Jaguars, offensively are atrocious. Just terrible. I don't know what they're doing to Trevor Lawrence, but they're destroying that guy. That's a talented young man who has no confidence. His confidence completely shooken. He had a wide open guy on the pick by DeMar Hamlin last night, and he completely overthrew him. He was wide open. He's just completely lost mentally. He only threw for 178 yards, a touchdown, a pick. The pressure is getting to him and I'm talking about the pressure up front because they had 4 sacks allowed. So they're not doing a good enough job protecting him. They are trying to run the ball, but they get so far behind that they have to pass it, and teams pin their ears back and go after him. I feel bad for Trevor Lawrence. I think he's a super talented quarterback. I think he can be a great quarterback, but he's just in a bad situation there at Jacksonville again. I thought maybe they had it corrected. If last year they looked okay, and the year prior to that they looked all right. This year they're just in a horrible spot. I mean, they're 0-3, and they are really bad, really bad. And then the other game, what a performance from Jaden Daniels. He went 21 of 23 for 254 and 2 touchdowns. He was amazing. He also ran for 39 yards and a score as well. He counted for 3 touchdowns. He looked great. He had that great pass at the very end of Terry McLaurin. That was under that rainbow that he just dropped in the bucket. It was a beautiful throw. And he looks great. I don't know if we're going to continue to see that from Jaden Daniels as the season progresses on, but he's looked good so far, especially last night. And I was listening to some radio coming into the show this morning, talking about how, they blame Joe Burrow for this start. Hey, there's no way you can blame Joe Burrow for this start. Cincinnati's offense, they threw for 324 and 3 touchdowns with no picks. Joe Burrow's doing what he can. The defense can't stop anything if you're Cincinnati, and that's a problem. You have to find a way to get stops defensively, and they couldn't even do that against the Commanders, who, once again, we're 3 games in. I don't think we know exactly what any of these teams are going to be by the time we get to week 15 or 18 in the season. But it's not been a good look so far at this point in time for either. For the Bengals, they've looked bad, and the Jaguars are bad. And for Monday Night Football, it's terrible. I mean, just lopsided games where you're seeing backup quarterbacks get in. It's no fun for anybody. Really, really, really bad football being played on Monday Night Football, and I feel bad for the crew and stuff. That's really hard.
A 3-run walk-off home run, a game-winning walk-off with a walk-off. His second walk-off hit of the season. In walk-off fashion, that baby's go.
As we walk it off here on the Morning Blitz, once again, a very busy night tonight in local sports. Good luck to all the area athletes, particularly volleyball players, with a lot of matches and triangulars tonight. Sad news, but I think kind of somewhat expecting news. Yesterday came down that 4-time All-Star Charlie Blackmon will retire at the end of this season after spending his entire major league career with the Rockies. 14 seasons. He leads the franchise in triples. He's second in games played, runs scored, hits, doubles, extra base hits, total bags. He also won the National League batting title back in 2017 with a very impressive .331 average. But Charlie Blackmon, the great bearded wonder, the man who has the great walk-up song that everybody loves to sing, hanging it up at the end of the season. I think it's not totally surprising. It's just where it is. But Rockies are going to celebrate Blackmon throughout their homestand this week, which starts tonight with the Cardinals, and they'll hold a tribute for him before the season finale Sunday against the L.A. Dodgers. But I always loved watching Charlie Blackmon play. Didn't like watching him when he took on my Diamondbacks, but I always enjoyed. I've always been a fan of Charlie Blackmon, and I think his number will be hanging up there at Coors Field. He was fantastic for them. Really, really good. A mainstay. To see a guy, especially in baseball, playing for the same franchise for his entire career, that's amazing as well. You don't see that very often. By the way, the Royals trying to end their 7-game skid here tonight and stay in the postseason picture. They are in the nation's capital, taking on the Nationals tonight. That is on 7 out of Cage Flex. Listen to it starting at 5:45 Central Time with first pitch. All right, I'm out of here. Have yourself a great Tuesday. We're back again tomorrow in 23 hours. It's been the Blitz.
This is Rockin'